Okay, so picture this. You've spent endless hours in the kitchen, breaking your back, pouring your blood, sweat, and tears into creating the perfect Christmas meal for your family. And finally, the moment of truth arrives. Your family's at your house, and you have the opportunity to put the spread out on the dining room table and just take a moment to look at it and bask in the magnificence of your creation. It was hard work, but you're proud, and it was worth it. And your entire family gathers around the table, and it's just wholesome, and you feel loved and warm. And the next moment, your great aunt, twice removed, looks at you and goes, "I hope the lamb isn't wild. I can taste it when the lamb is wild." And in that moment, your eye starts twitching and your blood starts boiling, and you just want to scream at this woman until her head explodes. But please refrain from doing so. We all know that the holiday season comes with a variety of potential conflict situations. However, with the help of a little patience and some psycholinguistics, we can get through these little misunderstandings mostly unscathed. Now, what is psycholinguistics? If you break the word apart, it's one part psycho, one part linguistics. Psycho refers to psychology, linguistics refers to the study of languages. So psycholinguistics teaches us the impact of language on human psychology and behavior. And when I say language, I'm not only referring to the words that we're speaking, I'm referring to everything that goes with it. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. So your non-verbal delivery, your body language, your facial expressions, the elements of voice and speech, like the rate, how fast are you speaking, the pauses that you're taking, how high is your voice, how low is your voice. All these things play a big part in the interpretation of your message, because all of these things make the underlying subtext and the intention of a message, and that's the most important. So one thing to remember though is that every person has different experiences and different backgrounds, and listeners are going to make different connotations of what you're saying based on their experiences and their backgrounds. So it's very difficult to determine how someone can interpret a message, but it's also important to get our expressions to match our intentions. That way, misunderstandings are less likely to happen. But you always need to remember to never try and prescribe the interpretation that the listener is going to have. Just try to refine your message so that the listener receives it in a positive way. And a good way to do this is to explore your typical expression habits. For example, if your aunt says this to you after you spend hours in the kitchen, you feel frustrated and you feel angry. Just think, what is your body doing when you're angry? Or what does your body do when you're frustrated? So do you throw your hands in the air, raise your voice, and clip your vowels short so that everybody knows that you're angry? How do you handle this situation? If that's the case, if you throw your arms around and you clip your vowels short and you raise your voice in that situation, try to refine it. Try to consciously think of calming down, keeping your body still, keeping your voice sustained, and not raising the level of your voice. So we can look at these typical expression habits that we have and refine them in conflict situations or sensitive situations. And that already helps a lot. All right, so for example, if you have to respond to your aunt when she tells you that she doesn't eat wild lamb, you can take one look at her and say, "I've taken all the necessary steps to ensure that this meal is of the highest possible quality. And I know you're a woman of exquisite taste, and I do realize that only someone of your exquisite taste will be able to truly appreciate this meal." So in that sentence, or in that response, you were both diplomatic and persuasive. By complimenting her and telling her that she has exquisite taste, she already feels flattered and more likely to listen to you. And by saying that only someone with her exquisite taste will be able to truly appreciate the meal, she might just feel obligated to do so. and also by saying that you've taken all the steps to ensure the highest possible quality of the meal. Possible is the key word here. Possible means within your capabilities, within your budget, within your cooking skills. You've ensured that you have the highest possible quality meal within your capabilities. And then you can just continue and sit down and go enjoy the meal with the rest of your family. So that's how you can handle that situation. Now, let's talk about a few other examples, shall we? Okay, so one of the most common conflict areas is usually revolved around food, and it's about the discussion around the food. It's about the creation of the food, who makes what, who brings what, whatever the case may be. And a lot of times one person ends up doing most of the work. So how do we avoid that? It's very difficult to just tell people, I can't do that, I'm sorry. If someone says, can you make the roast beef, the gammon, the roast potatoes, the carrots, and the green beans? That's the entire meal. So it's better, I don't think it's the best thing to say, no, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. There's always something that you can do though. So rather say what you can do than what you cannot do. All right, so I can make gammon and I can make roast potatoes. That is what I can do for you. And that should be a little bit more positive than saying, I can't do this, I can't do this, and I can't do this. I will only do this. All right, so say what you can do instead of saying what you cannot do. Now, let's talk about gifts. So obviously there's a lot of conflict around gifts. Let's say you receive a gift and you either don't know what it is or you don't want it. Remember, a gift is something that someone buys or someone gives you but is not obligated to. So it's best to always be thankful in that situation, even if it may not be something that you want or need. It's still something that no one was obligated to give you. But if you don't know how to react to it, you can just look at it, smile, and say, this gift is so creative, thank you. You're not lying, the gift may be creative, and you said thank you, because you have to be thankful. Now, how can we break bad news to people in these times? Like, I cannot do this, or I cannot do this, or the food is not what you're going to expect it to be. You can use linkage. Linkage is a technique that we teach in our psycholinguistics module. If you have to break bad news to someone, you take a positive thing and a negative thing, and you put the positive thing first. So, I brought your favorite dessert. Unfortunately, we don't have roast potatoes this time. All right, so always remember to say the positive thing first and then the negative thing. And next, we're going to take a look at avoiding words with negative subtext. Words like but, for instance. It's such a small word and we use it so often. However, when you use the word but, you disqualify whatever's said before. This meal was delicious, but it's too much. It sounds like an innocent compliment or an innocent statement. However, when you use the word but, you completely disqualify the fact that you said the meal was delicious. So what you do is you say, this meal was delicious, full stop. Give credit where credit is due. And then you say, I am stuffed, thank you so much. Instead of saying, but, you just separate the two ideas. All right, and then modal verbs. Modal verbs can be very, very, very useful. You get normal modal verbs like can and will, and then you get diplomatic modal verbs like could and would. And using the diplomatic modal verbs versus using the normal modal verbs could mean the difference between a request and a demand. And I don't know about you, but most people that I know prefer to be requested something rather than demanded something. So rather use would and could when you're making requests. So don't say, can you do this for me? Say, could you please do this for me? Will you just go and do the thing? Could you please just go and do the thing? Or would you please just go and do the thing? It has subtext of, politeness. to it. It's really, really interesting. Now, there are a lot of other techniques that we can use, but I'm not going to bore you with the rest of the details. What I've given you is a nice toolkit that you can use to resolve your festive conflict situations, and you can apply these techniques to many, many different situations. And let's try to get through this festive season unscathed, hey? We know that we love the people around us, but we know they can drive us crazy as well. But there's always a positive way to deal with a negative situation. I know we can sometimes be a little bit oversensitive when it comes to our family because they're supposed to love us unconditionally. So when they criticize us or when something negative comes out in conversation, we tend to be a little more hurt than we would have been if it was someone else. But we still love our family members, and this is a festive time. We need to just cherish the time together and have happy, happy holidays. So enjoy the festive season, and we'll see you in the new year.